doesn't change. 50 years have gone, but the new year resolution is I'll be honest, I'll do this, I'll do that. Next year, again I'm saying I'll be honest. So the next year if I'm saying I'll be honest, that means I have been dishonest for the past year in some way or the other. So when we talk about, change has to be complementary to your life and to your actions. If it's not complementing that, then there is no change. If I'm still lying to myself, if I'm shirking away, if I'm lying to, other people, there are no divisions. Lying is lying, running away from something is running away for something. I can't justify it. I can't put excuses to it. I can't say, oh, I'm lying to a person I do not know. How does that matter? It doesn't count. I'm at least not lying to the people I love. But the fundamental aspect is that once you start lying to strangers, you will start lying to the people you know. That is inevitable because human psyche will move in that direction. So it becomes very, very important for all of us, to be just, focused on who we are on any given moment. And that is the greater meditation. But that greater meditation cannot just start instantaneously. If it did, we wouldn't have half the world's problems that we are facing. If everyone just said, okay, I'm going to start meditating, life's meditation, I'll do it. Because the habits are there, the conditioning is there. That is why techniques are given. That is why certain paths are followed. At the end, reaching God is a pathless path. There is no path to it, But why are then rules being told to us that you should do it, you should not do it? Because to reach that pathless path, first the foundation has to be very strong so that we can be focused and channelized and dedicated to the path that we want to, or the goal that we want to attain. And true dedication only comes with great sacrifices. It's not just going to manifest itself. The world and your own mind will test you, and that's where the play of the mind comes in. If we are truly dedicated, then the mind will not be an hindrance. How can mind be a hindrance? Mind is not something external to you. It is a part of you. If you can control it, it is, it's like saying, if you want to tie someone, you tie him with a rope, he's bound. But if you burn that rope, what happens? The rope remains, but the inherent quality to bind of the rope changes. A rope of ashes will also look like an ordinary rope, but you will say the rope of ashes cannot tie anyone because its inherent property has changed. In the same way, when the mind is let loose, the mind becomes a binding factor. When inherently, through the power of observation, I can look past the mind to my consciousness, then the mind's inherent quality has changed. Its binding property is no longer binding because I am not paying attention to the mind. I have gone beyond it. So that state is called no mind. But no mind doesn't mean that there is no thought. At the end of the day, within meditation also, there is a thought. There is a goal. There is something that you want. Now, within that meditation also, there is two types of samadhi. Nivikalp samadhi, savikalp samadhi. Within one state, you are still bound to yourself. Because every time you will come out of meditation, the thought will come, I have meditated. Bonds of ego are still there. Even after you are experiencing meditation, after you are experiencing consciousness. That is not a clean break from the world. Because traces of the ego have remained. Then after years and years of experiencing that, finally you will reach a state which is complete freedom. But now we should not talk about states, which are in the form of words, because like I said, words are what? Words can be easily forgotten, and words are most of the time forgotten, But experiences can never be forgotten because they will always be a part of you. So start by experiencing yourself in what you can achieve and then move forward. That's what Plato said. Plato said something very simply. He said, make goals and ideals which you can fulfill in your life. Don't make impossible goals and ideals because they will remain unfulfilled. In the same way, if I say, oh no, I want to go in Samadhi for 4 hours. It's impossible. 4 hours I am not ready to sit cross-legged also in Padmasana. Legs start paining, back starts paining, There are so many things that the body has to be trained into also to experience those states. Now the body is not trained, forget about the mind, forget about reaching the consciousness, So basically make the changes where change is possible. There's another story. In the book of Genesis, it was said that God created the world in 6 days, and on the 6th day He created man and He rested. But there is an untold story of Genesis also. So the untold story is that on the 7th morning, Adam reached God and he said, you made pairs for everyone. You've left me alone. What did I do? Who do? Like every aspect has a pair, a male and a female. So God also thinks, and God, says that, you're absolutely right. So on the 7th day, God created Eve, created women. And it is said, since that day, forget about Adam, even God has not rested. He is also running around satisfying, the wants of the women. So to satisfy another person is practically impossible. But to satisfy yourself is possible. To start by yourself. Stop worrying about the world. The world's play has always been in duality. We talk about wars. Now, what can you do when countries are fighting wars for peace? The justification is, okay, for peace, we are going and invading this country, because if we invade this country, then there will be peace in this country. Not realizing after dropping bombs, after destroying people's home, how can there be peace in that country? But it is justified. It is justified through the ego, that we are doing something right, so something wrong can be done. So no peace can come out of war. To kill fire, you cannot use fire. You have to use water. You have to be the opposite. In order to eliminate hostility, you have to have unconditional love and compassion. But that unconditional love and compassion is the ideal right now. It's something that we talk about. They are words. To live it practically is a whole different, sort of a, ball game that you have to play. And it begins from within you. Now see whether our love is also conditioned or not. We will know the answer. Every morning my wife makes tea for me, she loves me. The day the tea making is stopped, she does not love me. So love is conditioned over certain acts. Whatever is my ego is gratified, it's satisfied. I'm doing those things, I've justified as that those things to be right. And whoever is confining to my ideals or my viewpoints is automatically right. Whoever does not confine to it is automatically wrong. But fundamentally, if you see that the more you are distant from the person that you do not understand, the more the differences will be. You will keep on seeing the differences only. But when you actually genuinely make an effort to understand the people that you do not understand, when you genuinely make an effort, you will realize that that person is no different from you. At the end of the day, we are all human beings. However, we've subdivided ourselves is divisions that we have made. We were not created in those divisions. We were sent on one planet. If you go, we've seen pictures of what Earth looks like from moon or from space. It is one planet. There are no borders that are divided. There are no natural lines that God has made. He's created one world, one atmosphere, one form. And within that form, there are multitudes of expressions of what life is. But when we go and see a map of this world, which is created by man, automatically borders come in, countries come in, nationalities come in, languages come in. All divisions, subdivisions are created by us. Because we do not make a genuine effort to understand another person who's from another country, another person who's from another faith, another person who's from another religion. If we genuinely make that effort, we will realize that that person is no different from me. I am also governed by my emotions. I am also sometimes governed by ego. I am also sometimes governed by anger. And so is the other person. When we understand that, then the differences, then the walls that we build, they fall apart. And once they fall apart, there is nothing that, can build them up again. Because then you can see what is real, what is the truth, and that always remains. And that is what becomes an extension of your internal self. So the internal self is pure, the world becomes pure. See, this is why it is also difficult to understand great saints and what they say, What Socrates said, people poisoned him at that point of time. Because people could not understand what he was saying. But today, after thousands and thousands of years of him being poisoned, today we are still discussing him. Imagine what great wisdom that person had. And imagine if the people of his time understood that, then what would have happened? He would have given so much more. In the same way, Jesus Christ came, people crucified him. Couldn't understand what he was saying. Muhammad alayhi salam came, what did people do? People forced him to leave Mecca and go away. Now, if only, these great souls' lives were not ended by violence, not by themselves, but by us, by human beings, by the society at that point of time, by the preset notions of what is right and what is wrong in the human ego at that point of time. If that wouldn't have happened, imagine what more we could have gained. Even Gautam Buddha was poisoned by one of his disciples because he wanted to test whether Gautam Buddha would know that if he is poisoning him or not. Now imagine the human psyche, how shallow the human beings can fall. So upliftment of your own consciousness is the only path to wisdom, is the only path to truth, and that you have to pay attention to your life in daily aspects. How you are, how you interact with people, how you respect other people, how you deal with other people. And if somewhere along the line you do come across some hostility where someone is just negative for no rhyme or reason, you cannot change that. You cannot change that. And if you want to change that, what usually happens is you get into an argument with that person and you become just like that person. Two angry people are like what? They are two angry people fighting. Now it's not justified whether one is right or one is wrong. At the end of the day, both are the same in nature, because both are angry, both have no control over what they are saying or what they are doing. Eventually that conflict leads to more conflict. But if one person is calm and he understands, okay, I can't go across to him, no point arguing, right? Just pray for him. Pray for him that, because you will see a part of you also in that other person. Till we didn't have guidance, till we didn't have maturity, we were just like him, We were also children, we were also immature at some time, we also fought. Some people are still fighting today over, things. If we really look deep into it, it has no base. But still fights are continuing, still, egos are clashing. So in a simple way, you have to begin to recognize yourself in all. And that's when you see the divinity of the world and you see the supreme consciousness which we are a part of also. It is not a part of us. We are a part of the supreme consciousness. We are part of creation. We are part of a whole grander process of things than what the ego portrays the world to be. The ego will always portray the world to be in an I form, in an individuality, which is me, myself, and I. Now the world is beyond that. But till we do not see the world as it is, the me, myself and I will always exist. Until they exist, there is always separation. So if anyone has any questions, I'm willing to answer them. And blessings to all. Hari Om Tat Sat. Question next.